And we are back to talk about what's been going on in the world of entertainment. Preston, you've been gone for quite some time, but you're back. You were on a brief vacay, right?
Vacay, and then I had family visit right after, because I don't know if you know about spring breaks. They don't align universally. So some people's spring breaks are one time, and then another person's spring break is another time, and this is the thing. So I was basically 2 weeks was essentially gone.
Gotcha. Well, glad to have you back. But since you've been gone, quite a few things have happened. This past few months have been
breathe for the first time. I understand.
Quite a few things have been happening in entertainment since you've been gone. This month has been like crazy, and of course we have here special guest Mr. Logan, formerly Mr. Ness, to help us talk about it. What's up, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Are we in a golden age of TV again? Why is it that there's so, like, just in the past couple months, there's just been so much good TV? Like people are pretty crazy about Severance coming back. People are crazy about Wheel of Time coming back. People were pretty excited about Daredevil. People are very excited about Andor, and of course, people are excited about Last of Us, and a lot of people are excited about White Lotus too. It's like it's just hitting like all this stuff at once. It's been a long time since there's been this many good shows on all at the same time. Like within 2 or 3 months, all of them are on.
Logan, would you agree with that?
I don't. It feels more like a gold rush. Like they're finding fool's gold. Like I don't know if I would call like Daredevil like premium quality. I don't know if I think a lot of the writers of the series that you just mentioned. I mean, this is gonna sound a little critical, but need to work a little harder because it's that Severance ending, that whole Severance season, horrid. Daredevil, I got some notes. And Last of Us, I mean, it's just the game with the weird actors, right? So it's fine.
Well, sure. Do you want to talk about? Because I got a lot to say about Last of Us.
Yeah, go ahead. You can start that.
So Preston, before you get into Last of Us, just to let the audience know, both Logan and I have played the video game. You have not. So
right, but I understood. I understood the grand spoiler of things. Mm-hmm. Like I understood the spoiler of things. I knew what was coming.
Okay, and you're talking about Joel's death.
Yes, of course.
So, how do you feel about Joel's death? Are you upset about it, or it had to come?
No. Look, I understood that it had to come, but honestly, so Last of Us. Look, I think the acting is top notch, and I think the cinematography is top notch, and it's like, oh my god, like. The action sequences, the costumes, so much greatness. It is. But at the same time, and I think the dialogue is great. I think the interpersonal stuff is great. But on a fundamental level, I'm just like, the plot is so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so dumb.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, like, it is, first of all, they're up in the fucking frozen mountains. and there are these, like, and how did this like, how did 1,000 clickers like just find themselves under the ice, and then they all just fucking come out as if like human bodies don't freeze or whatever, you know, and they're pulling themselves out of the ice as if it's like Jello or something, like something easy to get through, and then by coincidence. Joel happens to be out on a patrol, and by coincidence, Liana happens to be out on a
patrol. Liana? Ellie, Bella Ramsey, right. Sorry, of course. Forgot for a minute.
Ellie, I'm sorry. By coincidence, Oberyn had to be out on a patrol, and by coincidence, Liana happened to be out on a patrol. And then by coincidence, even though they already had a scene dedicated to this, where the Fireflies were like, how are we going to find the guy? It's a whole city of people. Like, by coincidence, the one person that the woman runs into is Joel. Like, it's just like the most contrived fucking situation.
The funniest part.
That it's just like mind-bendingly done.
I don't even think that this changed like at all. Like, that part, like, really changed from the game at all. Like, it's just as stupid
That's
in the intro to the game.
It's the game's fault.
Yeah.
It's the game's
it's
fault.
like, oh,
Yeah.
we want an action sequence,
Fuck.
and then we want this, and then we want this. And in the game, they do the thing where they say Joel's name, and she goes, Joel Miller? And so it's really fun. It's exactly the same way. And it's really like, how you said contrived. It's really annoying. Like, I mean, I really wasn't sour about Joel's death. 'Cause, of course, take revenge on him, sure. He did kill quite a few people, and that dude was unarmed. But, like, damn, that writing, man. It just felt like a series of and then, and then, and then, and then.
Right, like, we needed this to happen.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
like,
that's a really good
all
point.
those things, like Ellie arriving just at that moment so that she can, like, observe Joel die. Like, it's so, like,
yeah.
and I feel like they've got all these top-notch writers for the show and top-notch production for the show, and they're like,
yeah.
well, I guess we just have to do
And
it
last
that
season
way.
and
it's so
they would go out of their way to make decisions that like, they gave, like, Joel, like, a bit more vulnerability last season, and they would make bold decisions like that would change the game. And I just don't see why they didn't refit some of the intro for TV. I get, like, staying true to the source material and being a fan, but I don't want like a Stan Lee intro every Spider-Man movie, you know? Like, I'm good. It doesn't need to be that accurate to the game. It's fine.
It doesn't have to be that. That's the thing. Is like, it's like, stay true when it's good. Don't stay true when it's bad. Like, it's just.
If I'm remembering correctly, they even, like, showed a tutorial segment, which is showing you how to use the scope in the game, and it's just her pot-shotting zombies at Tommy, I think, in, like, the beginning of this episode. Or episode 1 or 2. Yeah.
Same kind
so
of
they
thing.
show you the tutorial of how to play the game in the show, which is and I get it's a bonding moment or whatever. It just could have worked differently. Like, we could have got exposition elsewhere. How the fuck are they gonna find this guy? Like, what, from Salt Lake all the way to Jackson? Like, I don't know.
And then the one guy out of the thousands of people that live in
First
that city
guy, too.
happened to be on patrol.
The first guy.
First guy, yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, oh god. Like, I'm just saying, it's really hard to get beyond because like, it's a beautiful show. Like, it's so beautifully shot with the mountains, and obviously people need to be wearing a lot more hats. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, where you're like, oh my god, how are you guys not wearing hats? Like, but I understand you have to show characters' faces, and they don't want to be all bundled up. You know, like the Night's Watch, how everybody has their hood down, and you're like, guys, it's cold. Put your hood up, like, you know, but it, like, the scene with like in episode 1 of Joel and Catherine O'Hara like sitting down and having that psychoanalysis moment, like, beautiful scenes. Like, I thought that the beef between Ellie and Joel, I think it was great. I think that the whole daddy-daughter, I hate my dad, but I really hate my dad because he did something really fucked up too. Like, I thought that all worked. I thought all the buildup was great. But I feel like this plot of this girl seeking revenge on Joel, like, that could have been an entire season in itself. And then you can go and do an entire thing about Ellie getting revenge. But, like, it seems like we needed to explore who that crew was more than just the one intro scene they had with them before they went on their journey. And then
give it a minute,
and then make it difficult for them to actually find Joel. Like, I understand that, like, viewers, that in writing, we accept coincidences that hinder the protagonist are accepted more than coincidences that help the protagonist. But this was like a bridge too far when it came to the contrived nature of how Joel dies. It's just like,
this conversation is pretty funny to me because it feels like a rehash of like 5 years ago or whenever. Dude, Last of Us Part 2. This is the exact criticism people out of the game.
Same thing. Yep. Yeah. Yep. This and well, to be fair, there were two types of conversation when that game came out.
Go on.
This one and like. I won't lie. I quite enjoyed the game. I think the game is a little better than the show. The show's fine. I have no problem with it. But I will say the beginning of the game, which is the beginning of the show, was not my favorite. I like as we go on when Ellie's hunting down these fucking people.
Yeah.
I will say the one change they did make that is pretty big. In the game, Jackson is never attacked, but in the show it is. And that's how you do like a horde of zombies running towards a fortified location. Game of Thrones.
It was almost like they were taunting Game of Thrones. They were like, "Oh,
that's the first." I went. This looks like a better version of the battle in the night, right? I forget the name of it right now.
Oh, absolutely. You could see everything.
Oh yeah, I know. It wasn't a shaky
great.
black camera.
Like and both sides were acting logical and both sides were acting logical. Like, this is what you do.
These are how zombies
and this is the strategy that we're gonna play. You know, like the zombies were, you know, getting a little smarter, and the humans did what they could, and it was. I suppose the only thing I would have, I guess, added is, had there been more time, we could have been introduced to many of the people that died. You know,
yeah,
because it's a horrible scene, and a lot of people have died, and they're all sad. But I suppose you're already dealing with Joel dying, so you don't really care. Like, who cares about?
Yeah, and like you said, that should have been.
So.
I feel like that could have been the game. Even like how you were saying, like this. How did she find Joel that quickly? And I think, isn't there a 2-year skip? How long has it been since season 1 or game 1?
Something like a 5-year time skip.
5 years.
I guess I can give him. I mean, okay, you really don't know where he's going. No, 5 years. Yeah,
it's one thing. Had they shown up and established, like, we've been watching them for weeks.
Oh,
yeah. We know their routes, and we know that on Tuesdays it's Joel's route, and that's when we're gonna like come out and get him.
They had like a lab. You can even get clever with it and go, yeah, that gun on his hip is the same caliber that shot my dad in the head. I'm positive that's
right.
him.
Anything, but instead it was, they literally had an argument. How the fuck are we gonna find him? And then, I happen to, I mean, that's the thing, is like all the coincidences. It's not just that they happen to run into Joel and they happen to run into Ellie and there happened to be a blizzard. It was also, they happen to awaken 1,000 clickers who attack the city at the same fucking time. So like everything is happening at once for no goddamn reason. It's just so weird.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Carmine. I don't remember Jackson being like frozen in the game. Was it?
Yeah, it was snow time. I remember that specifically. For the most part, like I think the show is doing fine. I like the game a bit better, but even in the game, the earlier parts, I'm not a big fan because a lot of it is Ellie just wandering around and trying to be very strategic about how she maneuvers around abandoned buildings and whatnot. I like it towards
quick time events.
Yeah, I like it towards like after, when she starts encountering like the enemies and whatnot.
How do you feel about Ellie's romance?
It's exactly how it was in the game, pretty much. Like they stole it line for line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good. Like, I'm
like, why is this incredibly hot girl like hitting on it? It almost, at first I was like, she's so hot and she's so flirty. At first I was like, is she hitting on Joel? And then you're like, and then she's hitting on Ellie, and I'm like, okay, well maybe she just likes protagonists.
I'm trying so hard not to get into this conversation.
Yeah, I'm like I'm stepping around the obvious right now, and I'm like, because I know half your comments you'd be like, why does the miner in the story need to be hot? You know, like, oh no, that's not what we're saying. That's the comment you see everywhere.
So I'll say this here. Let me. So Paul Tassi put out this tweet. So that woman right there plays Abby. Now he says here he's not Auntie Ramsey, but come on, man. That woman plays Abby, and that's Pedro Pascal as Joel. That girl should have been Ellie. Yeah, because that's kind of how Ellie looks in the game. This is Abby. Let me show you. I should have looked this up.
And even then, I wouldn't even say. I would say like you could recast her for those 5. Like, she's older. It's weird to see Bella Ramsey with like tattoos and shit. Like, I don't know. It's just odd for me.
I mean, I think Bella Ramsey is doing an okay job.
She's doing fine.
She comes off as scrappy
Preston,
and like
that's Abby.
Yeah.
In the game.
Is this on Facebook?
No, I sent it here on Discord.
On Discord.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That
Okay.
That's Abby
so
in
that's
the game.
the
Now,
big-
of course,
Everybody's mad. I mean, I could really care less. I do see what people are mad about. Like, I'm not blind, right? So.
Okay. That is.
And Abby's supposed to be like like a buff fight. Like, she takes off her jacket and it's like a WWE moment.
Abby is Ellie's. I'm sorry. Abby is Ellie's. I'm sorry. Abby is the girl woman searching for Joel.
Yes.
Or is she the? Okay.
Abby is the girl that kills Joel because her father was murdered. So.
So the one scene that did seem a little weird is when she's like, "Who do you think we are?" And Pedro Pascal looks around and goes, "Military." And I'm like, I would never look at that crew and be like, "Military." Okay, I'd look at them and I'd be like, college freshmen. Like, what are you? Who are you guys?
I mean, really close friends. That's what that's
to tack on to this. Who
have gone skiing.
This is Dina in the game. This is Dina, Ellie's girlfriend in the game. Are you starting to see a pattern here about how the show's casting?
They've casted everybody much hotter than the to the point where it's beyond realistic. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So what I find funny is when Abby first appeared in the game 5 years ago, people were pissed off for two reasons. The first, she killed their favorite character, Joel. The second is she wasn't hot, which is kind of fucked up, but I always find it funny because Abby is kind of like Darth Vader in the sense where in the Star Wars, Darth Vader is you need three men to make Darth Vader. David Prowse is the body, James Earl Jones the voice, and Sebastian Shaw is the old man in the final scene. Abby is actually constructed from three different people in the game. Laura Bailey is the voice, for my anime nerds out there, she was the voice of Lust in Full Metal, and Serena in Skyrim. And then they got this woman who's kind of like a bodybuilder, athletic person to be the body, and the face is this Norwegian woman. And in the show, she's just a girl who is not really buff, is not like super tall.
Yeah.
Because in the game, Abby, when you play as Ellie and then you play later as Abby just fucking bulldozes right through enemies like it's nobody's business.
I see. Abby on the show is so scrawny and small, and they're supposed to be military.
Yeah, in the game, when you see Abby's huge buff arms smashing Joel in, you're like, oh, okay. I don't even think she punches him like that as she does in the show. But one thing I did catch, she was so scrawny in the show, they didn't just have her like hit him in the head with the golf club over and over again. At the end, she has to like stab him in the neck brutally. Like into his windpipe.
Oh yeah,
which was a really weird change. Whoa, where'd that come from? Because I was expecting one last like really big swing, like the game does, but no, we're just gonna murder him.
The game did his death better because in the game she doesn't do the bad guy speech. I didn't like that.
Oh
she kind of
God,
does like a monologue.
I had to skip like 10 seconds during that. That was wild.
I feel bad for Bella Ramsey. It's my problem with her is that it's not that she's not pretty or anything. She's a good actress. I think she is good looking. However, she has my problem, which we both have baby faces. The problem is that I can grow a beard and kind of hide that, whereas she can't, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and it's not even, for me, it's not about, like, the looks or anything. It's just she embodies a more, like, childlike quality for me. Like, she literally looks like a child, right? And then it's supposed to be, like, a grown-up Ellie.
Honestly, the show is fine. I like the game better, and I'm only really watching to see the changes they've made and how they'll handle certain scenes. But so far, it's fine. My heart goes out to Bella Ramsey. She isn't a bad actress, nor is she ugly or anything like that, but to me she'll always be little Lyanna Mormont, and it's mainly because as a young kid she had that baby face, and now as an adult she still has a lot of that same baby face, so it's hard for me to like separate it. Personally, I wish they'd have gone with a younger actress for season 1 and then waited a few years so it looked like she actually had some growth, but whatever. Logan, I know you have to leave soon, so I wanted to talk some Daredevil with you. You and I continued watching, but Preston fell off a bit, which is fine. What did you think about the whole season? Like, because I don't know, Preston, I don't know if you know this, but they recently interviewed Vincent D'Onofrio, And D'Onofrio basically told the interviewer that he and Charlie Cox came in and told the writers, you guys got to do this, this, and this. You got to change this, this, and this. Apparently, the original draft was awful. And those two saved the show. However, that final episode was great until the very end, where I think they dropped the ball. You know what I'm talking about, Logan?
Yeah, I think they dropped the ball from episode 5 on, if I'm being honest.
Is episode 5 the bank one?
Oh, it's the bank one. Yeah, that's a bad...
I love the bank one. It's like a standalone episode. Really? What you didn't like about it?
It's just filler. It's just garbage filler, and they could have, like, and look, this is going to sound a little fucked up or whatever, I guess. They randomly introduce a police chief, which they're, like, inserting these random characters, and a lot of people are going, oh, I want a character from the comics. I want a character from the comics to show up, or even from the games, right? That police chief could have easily been Yuri. That's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that episode was...
Does that police chief show up again?
Yeah, she shows up in the end, at the very end when they assemble an army. But what happens is...
Because I was about to say, they spent a lot of time introducing her as if she was going to be important.
Well, I guess in season 2... anyways, nonetheless, okay, so my point is, that episode's just bad. It's inherent, like, it's objectively just not good. Like, if you like it, you like it, it's fine. It's just like, if you look at that writing, if you were to read that script, I don't know how that made it into the season run. They only use it and reference it and call back upon it, I think, with 4 lines in the next episode. Is just like, well, you went through something traumatic, Matt. God had your back, so you made it out. And that's it. And then, so there's no real actual motivate. Like, there's nothing added to the show from that episode. 6 and 7, I think we can all agree they wasted Muse. It was just garbage. And the introduction to who Muse actually is, oh my god, can we talk? That's the laziest writing I've seen in a minute. That's like if I was like, yeah, the big bad guy is Jon Snow's brother's cousin. Did you know that? And we hadn't met him till right now. What the fuck are you talking about? And then we skip on. Like, it's so bad.
It's literally the joke from Spaceballs.
It fucking is, dude. Like, I'm surprised Yogurt didn't show up and start trying to sell merch. Like, it's so... And then episode 8 and 9, I think I have notes. I think I wrote... Let me read my exact note for when Muse died. I paused it and wrote this. Muse got shot. LOL. And then, okay, my other biggest issue, right? It feels like the writer, whoever head writer was, if you're listening to this, it feels like they had a fantasy where their wife cheated on them. They're like, this is what I would do. You know what I would do if I wasn't, like, so mellow and chill? I'd be like Kingpin towards Adam, right? That's what it really feels like. It's some weird revenge fantasy. It's just odd, man. Like, in that ending...
Preston, in case you didn't see it, in later episodes, we find out that... well, you actually did see this. Kingpin's wife, Vanessa, her fling, Wilson Fisk has him down in, like, the basement. Eventually, Wilson goes down there with an axe and gives him the axe and says, come on, here's your chance. And the guy, Adam, picks up the axe, is trying to kill Fisk, but he doesn't. And of course, Fisk beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, it's like a whole scene where Fisk just like takes out his anger on. He just throws him into a roof, puts him back in the cell.
So I wish that they would have shown Vanessa's affair so that we knew what kind of relationship she had with this guy, so we knew who this guy was, like his emotion the first time he finds out about it. You know, instead it's just all after the fact. He's got a guy in a cage.
Yeah, and he's been there so long. He's
on the topic of Vanessa. We find out that she's the one who hired Bullseye to kill Foggy.
Oh, Vanessa tried to kill Foggy.
Well, she got it. She hired Bullseye. Yeah, there's a whole there was a whole plot that felt so stupid too. Like I'm sorry, and anybody who likes it, I'm so sorry. The only reason I'm overly critical is I love this stuff. If you go look at the Netflix version, it's like, oh man, it doesn't feel like a Disney Channel show with blood. They straight up, oh my god, that ending was crazy bad, man. Carmine, do you want to lead with why you think they dropped the ball? I'll add on to it.
So at the very end, Fisk, I told Preston a bit about this yesterday, but basically at the very end, Fisk declares martial law over all of New York City, all of it. And then Daredevil and Punisher gets captured, and Daredevil is like, we got to go in there, we got to take Fisk down. And at one point, they're about to go in, and Karen looks at him and goes, we need help. And he goes, you're right. And then they walk into Josie's bar. Matt's in full Daredevil costume. The audience, I'm sure the audience at large thought this too. Like, as Matt is walking into the bar, when he says they need an army to take Fisk down, I thought we were going to see the Defenders, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
I honestly thought the same.
Iron Fist's buddy. What's the Asian chick who played Nymeria? I thought they were gonna. I thought Spider-Man was gonna be there. No, it was just like Cherry, an old guy, the detective woman, 2 rando cops, and that's it. And Karen, and that's their army. Like, bro.
Did Foggy come back?
No. By the way, fans,
but you're right that you're like, oh my God, we're gonna rumble. Who we bringing? Randos.
We have
Randos
Asian Police Chief Cherry that we just met, and Josie.
You know who would have been. You know what would have been more exciting than that? See, now we're writers rooming this. Okay, all right. You were complaining that the most useless episode was the bank heist.
There we go.
Imagine if we said we need to go for an army, and he's like, you're right. And then in the next scene, he arrives and he knocks on Khan's door in New Jersey.
So you're turning
and he answers,
into
and you're like, what? But then he answers, and that he's asking for Ms. Marvel's help. Like, that would have been
across a tie.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
crossover. Yeah, that wouldn't have been
right.
bad.
But you don't even need the actress. You just have him knock, and then the dad opens the door, and he just says, "I need to talk to your daughter."
Yeah,
and then that's the end.
You do the Daredevil.
That would have been fucking
like the the little piano right after. Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been like much more exciting?
I honestly think I might have wanted to see. I don't really like Miss Marvel or her show, but I think I'd rather have seen that than what I did see. What I did see was writers showing incompetence, and it was insane to see. And man, it was. My brain is going like doing backflips.
Well, they did say that originally the season was the middle meat, and then they added the sandwich bread on at the beginning and the end of the season, right?
So they were like, let's write a bunch of Matt Murdock not dressed up as Daredevil until like the end. Let's do that. Like, that's insane to do.
Yeah.
Why did you write that? It's so stupid. Like, nobody here hold this. But
horn. Like all of the political Trump parallels and stuff like that. Karen, all of that stuff is like at the beginning and the end. All the bookends were added. So, do you think the bookends helped? Could you imagine what it was like if it were just the middle?
Oh man, that would have been rough. Yeah, that would have been rough, dog. Like, because I'm thinking about like the fact that the writers they went. You said okay, so they did the middle first and then added the sandwich bread on the end, right? Like,
yeah. So like the bullseye fight, Foggy dying.
So
Karen
that means that sandwich bread is most likely what Vincent D'Onofrio and Matt and Charlie Cox came in and were like, I just keep thinking about them. What was the original show then that was so bad that actors had to come in and write it? Because I'm kind of getting sick of actors going, no, I don't think Picard would act like that. He would be super sexy.
I think it was episodic. I think it was more episodic. I think you had a heist episode. I think you faced off against Muse.
Yeah, it felt...
it
felt more like a... I wouldn't even say a comic book run, I guess. Like an older comic book run from like the 70s or 80s, I guess, where there's, week-to-week villains, sometimes 2-parters and 3-parters. But it definitely didn't feel like... It just didn't feel like it was paced well. The writing was super, super in your face. Like, they did not... If they were like... I think there's a part where he goes, you never stopped being Kingpin. Like, it's so... Like, damn, you're just going to say it like that? All right. Like, we've been saying the word Kingpin like every episode. Yeah. And then the BB Urich writing, I feel just... like I'm starting to like Kingpin. Like, I think Daredevil's useless. Like, he's just so useless. I'm like, jeez. Like, no. It's just, I'm starting to like Kingpin. It's just, he's the only interesting plot right now. Like, Matt's just moping. And even in the end, I don't think you got to see the last episode, but it's just...
What about Soprano's son? Does he have anything interesting?
He gets
about
promoted
his, arc?
to, like, deputy mayor of communication or whatever. And he starts threatening people like Kingpin. But, like, there's a whole scene where, like...
That's kind of interesting that he's, like, becoming a Kingpin. He's, like, becoming Kingpin.
I am excited to see more of him. That's why I'm saying Kingpin's plot, I'm a little bit hooked just to see kind of... And now that they've unveiled that they're going to do, like, legal money laundering, right? They're trying to turn New York into a city-state. It's,
But Daredevil's sidekicks, which is, lawyer woman and cop guy, right?
And therapist.
Oh yeah, and therapist. Does anything go? Oh, and does anything go anywhere with that?
That's all last episode stuff. That's the army that's assembled. I mean, Matt tries to get Cherry to do. He's like, every time you were on the force and you needed somebody beat up, I was there, right? So you got to help me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you look like a guy exploding your life. This whole thing. The therapist ends up siding with Fisk. Because she sees Matt.
Was it a coincidence after all that the therapist just happened to be seeing Fisk?
No, it was a coincidence. He's just like, you're super chill. Like, that's his whole thing about her. Like,
okay, so it was in the entire city of New York with all of the therapists that Daredevil could have, or all of the women that Daredevil could have been dating in the entire city. He happened to be dating.
See,
the Kingpin's
and Daredevil's
shrink.
aware of how weird that writing is, so he starts like asking existential questions about the show. He's like, wait, are you sure they didn't just like write you in so that we're not connected to Kingpin? Like, he asks that.
So he lampshades it.
Yeah.
He lampshades
and she's
it.
like,
oh, this is really weird.
Like, you're really worrying me on a professional and psychological level right now. Like, gaslighting the fuck out of him. It's so funny.
He's like, I'm sorry, this is a city of 15 million people. And it's like, granted, I'm Daredevil and I do fuck a lot of women. But like, even if I'm fucking 20 women a year, the chances of me
running into
fucking
his
the
therapist.
Kingpin's psychologist is really low.
Dude, yeah, I think it's under 2%, under 1%. That's an insane ratio. Yeah, and so I guess I'll just say, like, there were fun moments. Like, there were moments I had fun. Like when Daredevil takes a bullet for Kingpin. I remember that. I was, ooh, how are they going to get out of this? Is he going to ingratiate himself to Kingpin? Like, what's this going to be? No. Let's just do the thing that we did way back in 2015.
Why would anyone take a bullet for Kingpin when Kingpin can actually get shot in the fucking face and be fine?
That's a good point.
Because Jesus wouldn't like that, dude. What would Jesus do? He would jump in the way. Like, he's a Catholic, right?
He would use nanites to reconstruct his fucking skull.
Dude, I was looking. There's a couple close-up shots of Kingpin talking on that eyeball, and it's like a slight scar, and I can't tell if it's a fake prosthetic scar or if that's just his like vein popping through while he goes, and Daredevil, doing the dumb voice. Like, it's so it feels like this was another big issue with episode 8 and 9, is it felt like Daredevil was Kingpin's scorned ex-lover kind of as well. Like, the way he's treating Matt is how he's treating Adam. And I'm just like, gee. He's like looking, there's a shot where he's like, he's back. And he's looking out of a rainy window while it's zooming in on him.
That's much more. Here's a much more. See, this is back in the writer's room. Much more interesting plot. Okay, Matt Murdock goes out, meets Vanessa. They have no idea who they are, and he fucks Vanessa. And then Kingpin wants to kill Daredevil because he fucked Vanessa.
If they didn't do that season 1 plot, that actually could have worked. Except, yeah, Vanessa looking a little, getting long in the tooth there. But no, nonetheless, I did like
Vanessa for Daredevil. Yeah. I'm sure like Vanessa's younger than Daredevil.
I hope so.
But actually, no. The therapist is older than Daredevil.
Yeah.
Therapist is older than Daredevil. Yeah.
She's just super into blind dudes. No, but there's yeah, I guess I'll end it with saying like it was mediocre, it was okay. I know that those writers are more competent than that, and I know they could do more, and it's just sad that they didn't work harder on it, is all. And it was...
But it does seem like there's a lot of meddling from a lot of different powers, and they're trying to please a lot of different masters.
There's so many hands in the pie.
I mean, you can tell, like, with the re-edits and everything, and the shifts in tone, and you know, my big complaint from the beginning was, this is a tonally inconsistent show.
Yeah.
And it's, you know... And
I think what lends
it starts getting tonally consistent in the middle... And then I'm sure
it falls apart again. It's like an Oreo, bro. It's like as soon as you leave it in too long, it starts falling apart. And the reason being, I think, that contributes to that in like the last episode is there's a big... It's not too big of a tone shift, but it kind of is. When Karen shows back up, I don't know if this is true. This probably was reshoots, but it almost feels like they recorded like episode 1 and the beginning of 2 and the last episode all on the same day, since they had access to all the actors. It was as if they didn't see or act throughout the whole show or get to feel the vibe of it. And then the Punisher shows up with like a fade and Karen shows up with this like little like love story with Matt, even though it's really not deserved because Kristen's the love story this season or whatever that we just got used to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean,
They gotta bring in Karen, because I mean, Karen and Daredevil are destined to be together.
Well, yeah, and now they're hinting that Punisher and Karen might get together, which is fine. But just come on, like this could have been. They beat around the bush for a whole season. This felt like this could have been the first 4 episodes. Was setting up this assassination of Kingpin through Benjamin Poindexter, Bullseye, whatever. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm not really excited for season 2. That was.
Is season 2 greenlit? Is it?
Yeah, I think they greenlit 18 episodes right out the gate, so 9 and 9.
Okay. So we're really getting the second half of. Okay.
And if Foggy shows up there, I gotta eat my own shoe, dude. Like if he's like, by the way, Matt, I faked my death. I'm fucked, dude.
I got some fucking nanites from the King.
Yeah, it went into my heart.
He reconstructed my heart.
I have Picard's heart made out of metal. I played Dom Jock, Matt. Did you know that? Yeah, it's so dumb. It's like, I don't know. This was what I was worried about. I was talking to a close friend who loves comics, and we both were we excited to see him back, right? And we thought, there's no way you could muddle this. And we just felt like this was water compared to Coca-Cola. Like, you gave us Coke last time, but you're going to give us water now. Like, this is...
So here's... I think comic books are in a very interesting place, right? Comic book movies are in a very interesting place right now, because comic books are ridiculous. They're dumb. They're absolutely dumb. We all know that they're dumb. And when they originally made comic book movies, they were dumb too, because superheroes are dumb.
Yes.
And then there was this moment, starting with the Killing Joke and all that, and maybe Watchmen even before
2013-ish.
That. 2013-ish. Culminating all the way to the climax of The Dark Knight, where, let's make comic books real. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but comic books aren't real. Like that, and eventually we kind of got to the point where you're like, it was dumb that we were pretending that comic books were real. Yeah. Like Christian Bale running around town going, using that voice, going, I'm Batman, and we realized that was also ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And so the Avengers came back and they're like, no, we're going to embrace being comic book and dumb and everything Marvel and Stan Lee, and comic books are dumb again. But DC kept pushing. No, comic books are serious, and now we're all muddled in this world where where we don't even know what comic books are.
Yeah.
Are they serious or are they flashy and dumb? Because they're dumb when they're serious and they're dumb when they're flashy and dumb. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but we're now in this totally inconsistent mush, and so I do kind of feel with Daredevil. Specifically Daredevil, they're trying to both be campy comic book and super serious at the same fucking time.
Yeah. That's my problem.
And it's like,
if you remember when Ayla, I forget her name, Hector's niece gets captured by Muse, there's a moment, I was actually pretty invested in that, and it took me out of the show when he's like, "Do you remember anything?" And she goes, "Besides the death basement and another snarky thing." I'm like, "You just woke up from a coma. You just woke up from blood being drained, liters of blood, and you're gonna make a snarky fucking quip." My mom wouldn't even do that, and she's been alive like 20 years longer than me or something. You know what I mean? What the fuck?
Right. But it's like, you can have this really cool, gritty hallway fight with Daredevil where you're like, oh my God, it's so gritty and real. And then you throw Bullseye off the roof and we're dealing with Kingpin, who literally had nanites reconstruct his fucking face because he was shot in the fucking face. And you realize, man, everything is really... These two things can't really exist.
Well, and then the amount of arcs, plots, and time wasted. We go from the first 2 episodes is the death of Foggy and putting Bullseye in jail. Then it's 3 to 4 to 5 is, or 3 to 4 is the death of the White Tiger. Then it's 5 is a standalone random episode filler. Then 6, 7, and 8 and 9 are 6 and 7 are Muse. Then 7, 8, and 9 are Kingpin. And Kingpin's just a backdrop to all this other shit so that we can do his stupid fucking Vigilantes act. It's so discombobulated and so disjointed and so unfocused. There's just so many moving parts that aren't actually moving parts. They put cogs in the machine to make them look like they spin, but they don't do anything. There's no actual serviceable function for most of these characters besides Matt having a flashback, which is super cheap as well. I don't remember flashbacks like that in the first 3 seasons.
And rather important, this is rather important, is there a thematic message? At the beginning, you begin the show, you begin the show with the statement, Trump is Kingpin.
Yeah, Trump is bad and Trump is Kingpin.
But what does that mean? What does that mean for Daredevil? What does that mean for society? How do we fight someone like Kingpin
I think
Trump?
What they're accidentally saying, and I'm not the smartest guy, so I don't know. It's almost like we gotta go back to our animal ways
to fight.
Let's beat the shit out of him. Yeah, let's beat the shit out of him. Let's go back to our animal ways is kind of the message. Let's go back to an uncivilized version of myself where I'm out of control. Right, so it's a bad mess, and then in the end, it just is a huge cliffhanger with him turning. I guess I don't know if you got the big plot Kingpin's pulling, but there's an area where there's no taxation and it's a free port in New York, Red Hook, right? And Foggy stumbled upon this, and that's why he was killed. And Kingpin and Vanessa want to legally launder billions through that port. Since it's a free port. And so Daredevil finds that out, and he's like, they're going to turn it into a city-state, and I think we get one last shot of, how he Carmine said earlier, we need to assemble an army if we're going to stop this. And they're in Josie's bar talking to nobody's about saving the world. Or
when he should be driving to New Jersey to talk to you.
Here's the thing. We need Spider-Man. This is his territory. We need
I thought
Spider-Man.
that he was going to show up.
Me too. First off, he should have shown up for that bank heist. But we need Spider-Man. We need the Defenders. We need all the New York City-based heroes. Besides the Defenders and Spider-Man, who else is based in New York City?
Everyone. The Avengers, everyone.
It's true. It's Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange.
No, he's off-world. He's off-world with Clea.
Oh shit!
From Doctor Strange too, yeah. So
pretty much all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and the Avengers, pretty much them. Hawkeye's around, I think.
Hawkeye. Yeah,
that's right, Hawkeye.
Hawkeye and his protege, Kate Bishop.
Phantom Vision is flying around somewhere. Echo's in the city, I think. Echo.
No, Echo's in Indiana or Kansas. She's somewhere.
Echo was.
She went to Oklahoma. I think she eventually would go back to New York.
Echo's the closest example to this show I can get. And that's not trying to be insulting, but it is, and it's so similar.
Oh, Echo being just a lot of re-edits. Where you're just like, oh my god.
Like, why
like, this is a really fantastic... I mean, it's interesting because it's like, this is a really fantastic premise.
Yeah.
But through so much bad editing and tonal inconsistency, it just feels like a jumbled mess.
Yeah, and it also felt like she
Like,
was more deserving to be here fighting against Kingpin as well. Like, if they really needed more people that are against Kingpin, I think, isn't she like the top on the list? Right? Like,
it's true, she hates Kingpin.
Yeah.
She would be very willing to fight.
Yeah, like, I don't know, and it's just, yeah, how we were talking, it's just a muddled mess. It's really like, it feels like it's watered down. It feels like the writers, it does feel like somebody came in and like, after you said that, I can't get that out of my head, that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio were like, how about you make us like lovers? Like, that's interesting to me that they came in and asked for certain plot lines. I really do. I want to know what that original script looked like without, because that's been a huge issue the past like 5 to 10 since Picard dropped. Is actors trying to control who their characters are? It's so annoying.
Logan, I can actually tell you the what it is. I tagged you in it a couple of days ago. It says it right here. The original opening scene for Daredevil Born Again before the creative overhaul has been revealed.
Oh.
Matt was in the outfit. He then pulled off his mask, and he was just so unbelievably sad, crying and all that. Then he dropped the mask, and that was the whole scene.
Okay, so Charlie Cox came in and wrote that?
No, this was before Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio came in and changed it up.
And did the foggy thing.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's fair enough. That intro did wow me. That's the thing that stuck me throughout the whole thing. But
I mean, it was a really great fight scene.
Oh yeah, no, it was, and he showed so much emotion on that rooftop. Like when he's listening for the heartbeat to stop, it's insanely good. It's just, I think I started like episode 1 through 4, it had me, but near the end of 4, I started to see through the rose-tinted glasses, and I started to take them off. And then when they wasted Muse, that was the biggest fuck you to the audience. I was like, no.
Couldn't Charlie Cox also, doesn't he still have She-Hulk's number?
I was thinking about that
He's
too.
got a lot.
But then how drastically would that tonally shift if She-Hulk showed up to fight Kingpin, right?
True.
She'd be cracking jokes.
She'd be
right
looking
left.
at the camera like, can you believe this? Which is
She's
fine.
true.
I love
She'd be mugging the camera because She-Hulk has fourth wall
yeah,
break.
she's the biggest fourth wall break, like besides Deadpool. So it would be interesting to see her if they were like, let's write her like a Daredevil character. That would be fun. I just don't really like. I thought it was gonna be the Defenders. Now, yeah, like it's. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what the plan's gonna be other than like some legal rigmarole that they got to go through mixed with Daredevil beating up Kingpin. But yeah, they I was saying earlier, they straight up stole a plot line out of season 1 where, and I guess it goes to show this is just Kingpin, but it seems to me like they were just rewatching season 1 and 2 and jotting down things that they can take. Was when Matt gets shot, they send Kingpin's little buddy to like put a lethal syringe into his tube, right, so that he gets poisoned and dies in the hospital, succumbing to his wounds. They do this to the police officer in season 1 or 2 of Daredevil. Same exact thing for the same reasons almost. Like, it's ridiculous, man. It feels like a big rehash. It feels super disjointed, and it feels just odd. And I really hope season 2 can kind of stick the landing, be a little bit more focused, and be a little more subtle, I think.
I'm confident that season 2 will be much better because now they've got their act together. Now it's like they're on top of it.
Yeah, I think so. And they got time to figure it out.
Okay, so let's get into the main event that everyone's been waiting for in the Star Wars world, in the Star Wars fandom. Let's talk about Andor.
Is it really Star Wars?
I'm going to bring that up later because, and I've said this about season 1, and I'll say about season 2. It's like they wrote a really good action spy thriller and just sprinkled Star Wars elements into it.
Well, this is the big question people have been asking. Like, do you okay, first of all, Andor it's just fucking incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, season 2 is just as fucking incredible as season 1 was. It's so fucking
Actually,
good.
I would argue the first three episodes of season 2 are better than the first 3 episodes of season 1. They're still both pretty good, but I liked these first 3 episodes of season 2 way better. Way better.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful show, so well acted, beautiful, the incredible themes that come back, incredible, just delving into characters and their beliefs and everything. It's so fucking good. And it's just like, I can't believe this is Star Wars. I can't believe this is not butter. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. And some people say, do you like it despite it being Star Wars, or is it even better? Does it being Star Wars make it better? Does it make being Star Wars have no effect on it, or does it being Star Wars actually take away from it, but it's still fucking good?
Does it being in the Star Wars universe take away from it? I don't think so, but I do think it helps a little bit. But at the same time, if you take out all the Star Wars element and you place it like on just modern Earth, I think it would do fine as well.
I think I'm in the middle. I think that it being Star Wars doesn't matter. Like, I think the Star Wars dressing is minor and irrelevant, and that it doesn't add anything, but it doesn't take away anything.
It helps put our characters in really interesting situations, and I'm kind of glad for it. For example, one of the things that we don't really explore that often when it comes to like a lot of sci-fi dramas is we could travel from planet to planet. But if you don't have a ship, or if your ship breaks down and you're stuck on a planet, you're fucked. It's kind of like one of the Riddick movies, the most recent, the third Riddick movie, because it was Pitch Black, and then Chronicles of Riddick, and then Riddick, where he's stuck on that planet, and they put him there. And he has to learn to survive. I kind of like the first 2 episodes where Andor is trying to survive on this fucking planet where this ragtag group of rebels are bickering with each other, and it's ridiculous. I really like that. He has to find a way to survive. They can't get off the planet because they don't know how to pilot this thing. They have no other ship, and there's just too many of them. They all can't fit on the ship. It's a whole thing. I really like that.
I will grant that so what's kind of nice about Andor compared to other Star Wars shows is they don't hold your hand. Mm-hmm. You know, it's actually kind of confusing. You actually have to pay attention, and you have to remember what happened last season. They're treating it like you just watched Andor season 1, because there's a lot of characters that show up and you're like, who the fuck is that guy? And you're like, well, you don't remember? They don't hold your hand, you know, and people speak in doublespeak, and people speak in code, and they don't explain things. It's not obvious.
Preston, we'll find a number. You know the number. Come on.
Right. Yeah. Now, and this is very different from, say, watching Mandalorian, where they're like, previously on Mandalorian. And I'm like, I don't need a fucking previously on Mandalorian. Nothing fucking happened last episode, and it was episodic. Why are you fucking telling me what happened last episode in an episodic show? Like, what are you doing? This is the only time where I'm like, last time on Andor, I'm like, yeah, I better watch that because I need a refresher. But I will grant that it being in the Star Wars universe does allow certain background elements to exist that don't need to be explained. Like, we don't need to explain droids. We don't need to explain interplanetary transportation. We don't need to explain how evil the Empire is. You know, there's little things like that, though they actually do show very much how evil the Empire is over and over again. But so there's little things like that. We don't have to show you how blasters work and stuff like that. But I don't know how much it being Star Wars adds to the whole thing. But
I think it enhances it a little bit. I want to give Tony Gilroy such a good compliment, but it'll have to be towards the end of this conversation, where I'm also going to include House of the Dragon a little bit, because it does connect a little. And so, but before we get to that, episode 1, I thought the opening was great. One of the main complaints about the first 3 episodes of season 1 was that it kind of starts off slow. They fixed that here. Yeah. Andor is immedially on his spy mission, trying to steal this new TIE fighter.
They're spending their sci-fi their special effects budget, like, right. They just dump it right at the beginning.
Preston,
there's your
that TIE fighter, the sets, the CGI. So I thought you could easily convince me they actually built an actual real life functioning TIE fighter.
Absolutely,
so good,
absolutely,
so fucking good. You know what? I'll even go as far as to say The inner Star Wars nerd in me is like, I really hate when because Star Trek does this now, where buttons and controls are now on screen because it could just be CGI instead of like buttons. No, just keep it traditional Star Wars where it's just like buttons on a console and there are random buttons and levers. You don't need to have like things pop up on screen. But you know what? Even though that annoys the hell out of me, Andor is so good. Fuck it, I don't mind. I don't care.
The little scene where like Diego Luna. He's so good just on his facial expressions. Like, he's so good. Like, him walking into that TIE fighter and the look on his face, and you instantly know, like, oh, God, he's confused. And he's, like, looking around and he's pressing buttons and stuff's coming up out of the walls. The seat's going out. Stuff's coming out. And you're like, you're with him. You're like, oh, my God, how do I fly with this thing? This looks insanely complicated and weird. Like, you're there, And then the great... subversion of expectation going well, where he like goes to zoom out and he goes in reverse and hits the wall and it's just scraping against the side of the hangar, and you're just like, oh God, this is so horrible. It's wonderful. Such a brilliant scene. Obviously I'm always annoyed at useless stormtroopers, but what you gonna do? But at least the stormtroopers got one kill near the end of our the 3 episodes.
The other, but Andor stealing the TIE fighter, that's one. The other plot line here is that we're setting up for the Gorman massacre. So basically, real quick for the audience who doesn't know, and I don't think you know this either, the Gorman massacre is this huge event in the original continuity before Disney bought it. In the original continuity, the people of Gorman were protesting the Empire, and Governor Tarkin is coming to visit. And they're protesting on the landing platform. And Tarkin basically tells his driver, just land the ship on top of him, fuck him. And he kills hundreds, if not thousands of people by doing this. And that becomes like a whole thing. Mon Mothma is also tied to that. She speaks out against the Empire, and this, in Legends, as well I'm assuming in this continuity, is when the Empire starts gunning for her. But the way they show how the Empire is trying to like delegitimize the Gormans and make the galaxy not like them with the propaganda and whatnot, I love that they're continuing to show us the Empire doing actual real-world evil stuff that you could see happening in our world instead of cartoon villain shit. Blowing up a planet is bad, yeah, of course, but propaganda to dehumanize innocent people resonates more on a realistic level than a giant evil space laser.
I bet Luthien convinced all those protesters to go out to the landing pad. He knew that they were going to get landed on.
Well, Luthen is an original character. Luthen is an original character for the new canon. He's not in the Legends.
I know, but I'm just predicting stuff. I'm throwing out baseless predictions based on nothing, because Luthien's whole thing is trying to get the Empire to overreach, right? Mm-hmm. So he has to convince the protesters to go out onto the landing pad.
They might not even do the landing pad. They might do something like vastly different.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, because I don't think they're going to include Tarkin in there, because maybe the CGI for that is going to be ridiculous. Maybe he gives Andor a mission to start the whole fucking thing go down. Maybe it's Andor the one who's behind it. Who knows?
But whatever the case, we've got 4 storylines going along, and what I do think is brilliant about how they're organizing it all is that in between, when one storyline gets exciting, they throw in the slow parts of the other storylines, and so then when the other storylines pick up, there can be a lull in another one, and it keeps you entertained throughout the whole thing. I would say it's you are right that Andor season 1 is a slower burn and it takes you longer to get into it, while Andor season 2, it's like there's more going on right from the beginning.
So the first storyline is Andor and the TIE fighter. The second is the Gorman stuff. The third is Andor's friends on that harvest planet, which you were confused as to why they were there.
Well, the Gorman stuff is like Deidre, right?
Deidre's plot. Luthen, one of the farmer guys is in with Luthen, and Luthen, I'm assuming, did a favor for Andor and got his friends out. And the fourth storyline is Mon Mothma.
Right. Well, you got Cassian, Bix, Mon Mothma, and Deidre. Right? Are the 4 worlds that we're jumping back and forth.
I didn't really care for the Mon Mothma stuff this much as I did in season 1, but that's okay. I didn't really care for it, and I'll tell you why. Because exactly what you said. Once we're starting to heating up on one storyline, on one scene we jump to Mon Mothma to like bring everything down, and they did so many jumps. Have you noticed that? We were with Cassian for like 1 minute, and then we go to Mon for like 3 minutes about Chandrillan history, which I don't really care about that much.
So I think the Mon Mothma stuff, at first I was like, this Mon Mothma stuff is hard to follow and it's a little boring. And then I watched it a second time, and the second time through I was like, oh, now I'm getting it. I'm understanding what's going on. And it's also thematically more important, because when you're at the wedding, and for instance, do you remember the wonderful speech that her husband gives, like that brilliant speech on joy? And you wonder, how can so much of the galaxy turn a blind eye to the Empire? And you realize, like, oh God, like Mon Mothma's like husband is the representation of that. Like, you know, they're just trying, like people understand that the world is miserable, but they're just trying to find their own joy in life, and they're trying to they're trying to make themselves blind to everything else, which explains like why horrible things can happen in the world. Is that so many people, it's not that they don't know the horrible things are happening, but they're trying to find joy. And I just found that speech like it's a really beautiful speech, and it tells me so much about her, you know, the character. Like, he doesn't, you know, it's not that he's an actively bad guy, but he's like in his search for joy and happiness, he has to shut out the world, which is so many people. When you're like, oh, how can you not be political, and how can you not be angry, and how can you in our world? And you're like, well, they're just trying to be happy. They're trying to find joy. So I admit that not that much stuff is happening with Mon Mothma. And then that's like her trying to find joy at the end there, for different reasons. I mean, she knows that her boyfriend is going to get murdered. Her ex-boyfriend was going to get murdered, but I think that, you know, it's just, there's some deeper messages with her story that's about everything else.
That's a very good point. And to what you just said, I kind of feel bad for those people who, like in our world, in the real world, who want to shut out all the bad stuff and focus on the small pleasures in life. I feel bad for those people watching this, because even though this was filmed before Trump came into office, there's a lot of it here that's like,
there's a lot.
My God, dude! So on the Harvest Planet, Bix,
the undocumented,
the propaganda from the ISB, just our rebel forces fighting amongst each other when they should be fighting the main enemy. Guys.
Yes.
This was not written when Trump was in office, but if it was, you could fool me. And I don't want to doom your video to a bunch of dislikes by the random 3 Trump supporters who still watch you for whatever reason, going on multiple accounts to dislike the video, but it's literally right in your face how the evil empire is doing the same shit the Trump administration is doing. Like, of course, these people are going to go on Twitter and say they don't like the show. Like, of course they are. It's like turning on the TV and only seeing a mirror.
Yeah, I know. And maybe it's just because it's so good and it's so universal that we get to read in our modern problems into it, because, you know, that it's so good at like capturing the human condition that it allows us to do that. But maybe that's it, you know, because obviously they didn't know what was going to happen. These scripts were written years ago. These scripts were written like 2 years ago. So yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, and some of it's quite like, yeah, Bix and the undocumented like farm workers, migrant Bix and the undocumented migrant farm workers, and them having to hide from and getting abused by the Empire, like people coming in. Yeah, it becomes incredibly relevant today.
Maybe this wasn't their intent. It's like in the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when they happened to have the Asian character be the Yellow Ranger and the black guy be the Black Ranger. The immigrants are undocumented here are brown people, and the farmers are like white guys. Come on, guys.
No, I mean, I think they were clearly trying to make that point. I just don't think they knew that the issue was going to reach the boiling point that it was today. You know, because you could say, okay, Picard season 2 had a whole plot about ice, right?
I forgot that fucking existed.
And a whole plot about right, and had a whole plot about undocumenteds, right? So it's not that these issues weren't always there. It's just that they chose this issue, and the issue has become this like enormous thing right now at this moment. So, you know, it's coincidence. You know, I don't know if coincidence, but is the right word. But I don't know if they intended it to be so in your face, because it feels in your face because it's such a huge issue now. But
I do love how we're also kind of expanding on Star Wars lore in a very technical sense, because apparently I was always under the impression that anyone can get into a starship and fly from Coruscant to wherever the fuck and just live there, no problem. But apparently there's a visa system. Like, if you're not born on this planet, you have to have certain identifications and credentials to kind of live here or immigrate here. I kind of like how there's a system like that, because it makes it feel more real, and it like connects it to our world, because you just can't go from Canada to Japan and without, like, you know, some documentation. Right. I love that. All these little things. I just fucking love that. People were complaining about the ragtag rebels on the Yavin planet, on Yavin 4. This was set up in season 1. This is the conversation Luthen and Saw Gerrera had about different rebel cells being crazy and insane. They're not an alliance just yet. So,
I mean, this is the whole plot of the whole show. I mean, this is that they're not all organized, and that they're many different groups, and that they need to be an alliance. And someone needs to lead them. And you can in those scenes where even as a captive, you could see Cassian being a leader, more of a leader than any of them was really well done. No, I mean, and I thought there was just ridiculousness of it. You know, like the fighting and how they go out to play rock, paper, scissors to try
Space rock, paper, scissors.
Space rock, paper, scissors. Though again, a little bit of a coincidence that out of nowhere a big space boar mauls everybody.
When he leaves the planet and it's revealed to be Yavin 4. Oh, that was so cool. Like, you're not even worried. You don't even care about the planet. You just know Andor's got to get out of there. But the moment he's gone, like, oh, Andor's the one that discovers Yavin 4. Like, he's the one that kind of leads everybody. Okay, that's fucking cool. I love that's how you do that. Because people forget about this, but Tony Gilroy did Rogue One. Rogue One, decent movie, but there's a lot of like, remember that thing? It was kind of annoying, but this is how you do
all the member berries.
This is how you do that. Oh, so good.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that's the same thing he did with the Death Star stuff from the first season.
You didn't like that, did you?
You were. I didn't like the final like scene, but in a way, it's the same. It's the same concept, right? You're working on this like item, and you're not thinking much of it, and then later he's like, actually, that was blah blah the whole time, and it was under your nose, and you didn't even realize it. But it's the same. It's the same technique. You know. You
mentioned this earlier about what happened with Bix, and I kind of want to bring up something not really controversial, but I want to give this person the benefit of the doubt. So, in the Star Wars community on YouTube, the biggest Star Wars channel is Star Wars Theory. Star Wars Theory is, I know, Star Wars.
The guy who hates Andor. The guy who somehow hates Andor.
He didn't like Andor. Yeah, okay. One of the reasons being is because in season 1 there were some bricks and screws and So he put out a tweet, and I will admit, the first...
You think of the whole fucking galaxy, they haven't come up with screws? The whole galaxy, they don't have bricks?
It's the whole thing.
How this Joe became the number one Star Wars channel is
it always seems to be some random Joe who's bald that always has the... Right. But in his tweet here, his first statement... I agree with him, kinda. Like, that's a fair criticism. Let me read what... Let me read to the audience what he's trying to say. So basically what he put out is, sexual assault in Star Wars feels unnecessary. You can portray power dynamics and making the audience hate the Empire in other ways, without taking it to such a disgusting place. For some people, this is a bridge too far, which is fine, and that's fair. Where he shits his pants is what he says next. Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. It has no place in Star Wars, period. So Vader, the guy infamous for, genocide of an entire group of people, killing children, torture, kidnapping.
Torturing his daughter. He doesn't know it's his daughter, but torturing Princess Leia in A New Hope. You're right. Like bringing in torture droid. Torturing Han in Empire Strikes Back. Blowing up a planet. Vader strangling his what first of all, this idea that sexual assault in Star Wars feels unnecessary. I don't know where like I say there's a scene in Star Wars where a floating droid with it's a injection syringe, but it might as well be a fucking phallus. Comes in in a scene with Princess Leia, and the door closes. And granted, whatever happens in that torture is off screen, but later Princess Leia is put in a fucking bikini and kept by Jabba as a sex slave in Return of the Jedi.
Well, to be fair, she's the second slave. The other one was the Twi'lek who displeased Jabba.
Right, I'm sorry. After Jabba murders his first literal sex slave, he then enslaves Princess Leia as his next sex slave.
Of course. To be fair to his stance here, and to play devil's advocate for a little bit, I get that for some people that scene could be very triggering, and it clearly hit him. It hit something for him here. What I disagree with him on is him trying to be a Vader fanboy by assuming Vader wouldn't be cool with it, when in honesty Vader most likely wouldn't care that much or even notice it, considering when the people doing the assault probably wouldn't be doing it with him in the same room, considering everybody is afraid of Vader when they're around him. But I get what Theory is saying in the first part. It probably triggered him a little bit and he felt certain things about that. But the second part is just, I don't know, it's just some weird fanfic he invented for his favorite character.
The only reason he thinks that sexual assault it was not in Star Wars is that there's so fucking few women in fucking Star Wars, okay? There's so few women that he's like, whoa, this we haven't seen this before. See, this is the big joke. This joke was made by my sister when I was 10 and she was 12. In Return of the Jedi, when Obi-Wan says, your sister, and then he says, Leia, and it occurs to him that Princess Leia is his sister. And my sister said, wow, that was hard to put together considering there's only one woman in the whole fucking galaxy. Which is... And some people will be like, well, there's Mon Mothma, and there's one woman at a station at Hoth. And that's literally how many women are in the whole fucking universe.
And Luke's ex-girlfriend in the deleted scene in A New Hope, but you wouldn't know about that yet.
And then, and it's well, there's also this fucking sex slave at Jabba's palace.
Of course.
So you're so when you start saying okay, how many women were in the original trilogy, and then how many women experienced sexual assault in the original trilogy? So let's see let's say what happens to all the women in the original trilogy. Well, first, Aunt Beru is fucking murdered and burned alive, maybe by some stormtroopers. I don't know. Then Princess Leia is tortured, is literally tortured and forced to watch her home planet blow up with her parents on it. And then she's made into a fucking sex slave in the third movie. And then there's Mon Mothma, who makes one little speech at the end. And then there's the sex slave. Okay. This idea that the very few women that exist in the story are all fucking treated horribly and tortured and tortured in a sexual way. Okay. So it's just he's a fucking idiot to think that sexual assault doesn't exist in the fucking Star Wars universe. I don't know where he's getting this.
Well, again, to be fair to what he was saying on text, not defending him, but just to represent his argument accurately, is that he doesn't think it should be shown to make you hate the Empire when there's other things out there that can make you hate the Empire that are just as effective. Clearly, this upset him, so yeah.
Like, right, like what canon aspects of the story? I mean, because these are people that blow up planets and torture people. Like, what makes you think? I mean, and they're a literal stand-in for Nazis. So, I mean, imagine if you were like, Nazi Germany wouldn't tolerate the sexual assault against like Jewish prisoners. You'd be like, that's ridiculous. What are you fucking talking about? You'd be like, no, Nazi Germany wouldn't tolerate sexual assault against like Holocaust victims. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Of course they would. That's the same thing when I'm like, well, the Empire wouldn't fucking tolerate it. They wouldn't fucking care. They wouldn't fucking care, and Vader wouldn't fucking care. Where is he fucking getting this shit?
Well, we had this conversation briefly in private, and I thought you had a phenomenal take on it because Star Wars Theory is looking at it through this different lens that we don't need to have this here because there are other ways to make you hate the Empire. And what he doesn't seem to understand is that at this point, we already hate them. And the whole situation was not really about making us hate them more. It was about the dangerous situations our characters are clearly in and leave themselves open to by standing up to the Empire. Because Theory here seems to just think that this is about hating the Empire and how we can get to the audience to hate them more.
Well, I don't think that was the point. I think the point was about. It was not, the scene wasn't about the Empire. The scene was about Bix with a callback to her torture scene in the previous season and the sacrifices that she makes for the rebellion. Like the whole episode, like the whole series is about the sacrifices that the characters make to advance the greater good. And Bix is part of the rebellion, and being part of the rebellion is being vulnerable and she could have stayed on her home world and lived a life, but instead she's chosen the life of an undocumented because she's hoping for something better. Just like undocumented people choose to take risks for a better life in America. And these risks are serious fucking risks. Do you think that undocumented women don't face these sorts of
abuses by people in
threats?
Power? Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's actually very well said about like the sacrifices for the greater good. And
I think he's misreading the scene, that the scene exists so that we hate the Empire. We already hate the Empire at this point. Okay. We all hate the Empire. Mm. This was about Bix's story.
I almost feel I almost feel bad for Theory that he can't enjoy anything. That must be such a miserable existence. But hey, in regards to, you're right, the sacrifices for the greater good. And eventually we know that the Empire is defeated at Andor. What really bothers the fuck out of me is like all these stories and
Yub nub.
Not that. What really bothers me is all these stories and all these sacrifices made only for the Empire to come back in the fucking sequel trilogy. I fucking hate that. I really hate that idea.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, I guess that's life, man. I mean,
I really
all the people that die in one revolution only for the evil to come back in another revolution. Like our grandpas that went to war in World War II to fight these damn Nazis, and then they fucking come back.
What's going to be even funnier is like how you and to the I know I'm going to have I know people are going to like roll their eyes, but what's really funny is that the Empire doesn't think they're the Empire. Just like how now, who the Empire is now, they think they're the rebels. No.
Yes.
No. No. But no, overall, I thought it was a great series episode. Episode 3 was also pretty good. Everything was spot on. 10 out of 10 for me. I just, if there was one thing,
10 out of 10.
If there's one thing I would like say I had a problem with, but even then I can overlook it, no problem, is I wish we had time to stay on a scene a bit more. Because sometimes we'll be with Andor on the planet, and then it'll cut away straight to something else. And then we'll come back for 1 minute and then cut it away immediately to something else. I wanted to stay there. The
show is so good that I feel sad that I know this is the end.
Yeah.
You know, like there will be no more seasons after season 2. It's going to end right where Rogue One begins. Like, we know that from the beginning. It's so good that I feel sad that there's not going to be more of it.
Let me tack on that with one more thing. So you mentioned Rogue One. This is what I think spin-offs should be. They should enhance your rewatch of the movie. Because when I watch the movie, like, okay, Andor, he's a character. It's really Jyn Erso's story, but Andor's there, whatever. And then they announced the Andor spin-off. I'm like, Andor, who fucking cares? And then we got to see season 1. Oh, I cared, apparently. I didn't know that I cared, but apparently I cared. Watching Andor seasons 1 and 2 back-to-back and going to Rogue One will enhance my viewing of Rogue One. And going forward, that's really what spin-offs should be, from Star Wars specifically, and even, I would argue, Game of Thrones. Spin-offs should enhance the main series of movies and shows. So I think in that, Andor did a very good job. Before we move on to the next thing, I wanted to...
Oh, by the way, one last thing. So this point was made by Movie Bob, but he thinks what's weird about Andor, and he likes Andor. He doesn't like it as much as we do, but he likes Andor. But he said that Andor is essentially... His comment was that Andor is kind of a serious version of the Spaceballs joke. The Spaceballs, for the most part, makes a lot of jokes about the bureaucracy of the Empire. Like, you know, how do you deal with all of the little inventorying and the random person pulling lever over here that needs to happen to keep everything together, and how ridiculous the whole thing is. And he's like, that's really funny, but what's weird is about Andor is that it's the plot, and like the plot is bureaucracy, and it's so compelling. I would say that's more like The Wire, that the bureaucracy is actually fascinating once you examine it, you know. But but it was an interesting point that, like, both things rely on pointing out bureaucracy, like one in a humorous way and then one in a very serious way. Like, this is what bureaucracy looks like, and this is how things happen in a system, you know.
Fuck.
Anyway,
that just reminded me of another thing that Andor season 2 is calling out way before it happened. Cyril,
Cyril, being
fucking
incredible.
Cyril is what Doge thinks they are. Like, because Cyril is like explaining to the new guy, like, every single day for 3 months on my lunch break, I looked into this thing, and many months later, I found it. I'm like, bro, really?
I found $250 of fraud. Yeah, you know, it's like, yeah, it was so pathetic, all of his work and how little he found. Yeah, it was just.
You won't have to wait long for perhaps another serious Star Wars show. So we got word from Star Wars Celebration in Japan. They announced a series of shows. They're moving forward with Ahsoka Season 2. Our boy Rory McCann, who played the Hound in Game of Thrones, he's taking over as Baylan Skoll. Apparently he and the actor were very good friends, and the family was completely on board with Rory coming in and playing Baylan, which, okay. We could probably expect Ahsoka Season 2 next year. There's going to be a Darth Maul spin-off animated show about what happens to Darth Maul before he dies on Tatooine at the hands of Obi-Wan. And we're getting a new Star Wars show, possibly live action, from the writer of Lost. I believe the guy's name is Nick Hughes. I think that's him, or at least his the man's son. But this man wrote... let me see. I'm sorry, not Nick. Nick is his son, Carlton Hughes, who was a writer on Lost. Nick Hughes, his son, was a writer on The Leftovers.
Nice,
we could probably expect something serious in regards to Star Wars going forward. On the topic of celebration, Star Wars Celebration in Japan, I wanted to bring up one moment that I thought was really interesting in comparison to what's happening with House of the Dragon. Dave Filoni, who is the showrunner for Ahsoka. He also wrote a lot of the animated stuff, Clone Wars, Rebels. Dave Filoni is talking about his admiration and love and respect for George Lucas. And at one point, he gets so emotional about it. it's really so telling how this guy here is the heir to the Empire, heir to George Lucas's thing. And then you look over what's happening with House of the Dragon, and you have like the very opposite with Ryan Condal pretty much calling George R. R. Martin, the guy who made this whole thing, unreasonable in his whole thing. And it also reminded me of another thing. So a couple years ago, head writer Sarah Hess said how she never watched Game of Thrones. She only read the books. Now, you could argue that some people, I'm sure, would argue that after season 2, they're probably wondering, did Sarah really read the books? Which, okay. That's okay. That's fair. And I hesitate to even get into this because I don't want the Ice and Fire fandom becoming like the Star Wars fandom, where a sizable portion of the Star Wars fandom always bitching about Kathleen Kennedy. Because I like to think that Ice and Fire fans, at least, the older ones, not the 21-year-old Tumblr role players, have a bit of more nuance to them. Because on one hand, Sarah Hess, she's done stuff I disagree with, but also stuff I really like. Season 2, Episode 2, phenomenal episode. But she also wrote Season 2, Episode 8, which I thought was one of the worst episodes in the entire franchise. Yeah. So, but Sarah Hess said, she read the books a long time ago, but she didn't watch Game of Thrones. And I'm gonna try to connect this with Tony Gilroy. I don't really think that Tony Gilroy is a Star Wars fan. I'm sure he enjoys the movies like we all do, sure. But I don't think like he cares about the difference between an X-Wing and a Z-Wing. I don't really think he cares about the difference between this blaster and this rifle. Like, he's not technical like that. I'm sure he has people there to assist him with, this technical stuff, like the difference between this and this. But I don't think he's really a Star Wars fan. I think he's a writer who was hired for a job, and he wrote the best possible script he could write and then sprinkled Star Wars stuff in there. My question to you is, do we really need someone to be in love with the source material, or at least know every bit of detail about the source material to make a good show?
No. Look. I mean, good writing is good writing. Andor happens to be very accurate on things with regards to timeline and everything, but I'm sure they also have a team of like people being super anal about it. Weirdly, I mean, Star Wars has just as much canon, if not more, than Ice and Fire, and so it's a little weird when I watch Game of Thrones and Game of Thrones series and how things are off from, knowing the canon. Because also I can go over to the Star Wars universe and be like, wow, they're very consistent. Obviously they make mistakes here and there, but they are the Star Wars, the people that write Star Wars, and even the bad ones, even Book of Boba Fett and shit. Like, yeah, I make the joke about them fucking up with Bib Fortuna because Bib Fortuna blew up. But for the most part, they are very, very consistent and accurate with all of their set design and weapons design for the time period, for, the lore that's going on, the historical events of the period and all of that. They're pretty consistent. At least with on-screen performance to on-screen performance. It's not like they're being consistent with books and extended universe stuff, But I mean, do you agree that it's pretty amazing how they get a lot of these irrelevant details correct in the Star Wars shows?
Yeah, there's some inconsistency here and there, but it's very minor. I'm sure the only people who'd really notice are like those who are like super duper the dudes staying up at 3 a.m. reading Wikipedia. Those guys would notice, but the average person, but not really.
But it may also be that because Star Wars has become so much Easter egg spotting.
Yeah.
Like, like the whole point of most of the Star Wars stuff is member berries and Easter egg spotting. And while that's not really the prime focus of Game of Thrones, and never has been.
Actually, I will say
there's a little bit of
House of the Dragon season 1 had quite a bit of that. Like, I remember being like, oh, they mentioned E.T., Because remember Aegon, before he wanted the crown, he was
Right,
like, I'm
right.
going to run away. I'll run away to Yee. I won't... Like...
But at the same time, they shove a werewood in the middle of King's Landing. You know, like, you know, it's stuff like that, right? You know, you just wouldn't do that. Like, it's not like you'd have a fucking, like, Alderaan suddenly unexploded in a Star Wars series and everybody just being like, yeah, that's fine. You know, like... You know, having a werewood in the middle of King's Landing, or what? I don't know.
I'm always back and forth on this because Ryan Condal is clearly a fan. He's clearly like a book reader. He knows all this stuff. And Sarah she's there to, like, you know, try to make sense of it all. Because, you know, even though she said she read the books, maybe she did, I don't know. But she didn't watch Game of Thrones. Okay, fine. She's there to, like, write the drama. And I guess Ryan Condal is there to help her write the drama, but also include some elements of Ice and Fire in there. Sure, whatever. But at the same time, man, like, if you are such a passionate book fan, which I believe Ryan is, why are we writing out important characters? I'm not talking about Maelor, I'm talking about Nettles. Because a lot of people ask me, is Nettles really that important, though? And usually the answer I give, and you can debate me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
Nettles is important because Nettles challenges Targaryen supremacy on it being bullshit.
Yeah.
Because the Targaryens, they like to push the propaganda that only the Valyrians, not Valarians, the family, Valyrians, their people, can ride dragons. Nettles attaining a dragon challenges that narrative. And that's very important in the story.
Very important. Very important thematically in the story.
So, and they left her out because...
I mean, I think about getting back to Tony Gilroy and whether you know, him being a Star Wars fan, I think him not being a Star Wars fan helped.
Yeah.
Because had he been a Star Wars fan, he would have never attempted to make a show like Andor. When you look at, say, Ryan Condal with House of the Dragon, you can tell he's trying to make something that in an atmospheric sense seems like the original Game of Thrones, right? How it's filmed, the grittiness of the setting, the tone, how much violence there is, how much humor there is. All of that stuff is very consistent to Game of Thrones. Well, Andor is a completely, utterly different fucking show to Ahsoka or Skeleton Crew or, you know, or the original series. You know, it obviously there's similarities to Rogue One, but like it's filmed completely differently in directing sense, in writing sense, in lighting, in acting, in story, in themes. Everything is different. Everything is fucking different. And had he been a fan of Star Wars, he would have been trying to mimic something. You know, just like how when we do the fanfic, we try to mimic George's style. Ryan Condal is trying to mimic D&D's style. And
that's fair. Yeah, I agree.
Meanwhile, Tony Gilroy is mimicking no one. Or if he's mimicking something, it's not Star Wars. You know.
I've been saying this since season 1. This is a show that was not written with Star Wars in mind, but they sprinkled in after the fact. Because I'm reminded of people keep saying, like, we should get people to do this who are fans of the source material.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
I'm just saying this. I'm just saying, and this is the other thing. Like, people are like, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy has ruined Star Wars." I'm like, if Andor came out on her watch, how can you fucking? If the greatest thing since Empire Strikes Back came out on her watch, how can you trash her anymore? So
that's what always bothers me about the Kathleen Kennedy conversation, because it's always a lack of nuance, and it annoys the fuck out of me, because even the grifters are right about this one thing. She is the boss, and when something fails, like the sequel trilogy, that's on her watch. So she should get the lion's share of the blame, but she never gets the lion's share of the praise for greenlighting a show like Andor. Right.
If the buck stops with her, she needs to get both. You know, needs to get the credit and the criticism. Or if you're going to deny her the credit of Andor, then you deny her the criticism of Book of Boba Fett or whatever. Like, you know, that's what you got to do. Like, you can't have it both ways. You can't praise her. You can't, I'm sorry, criticize her when things are bad and forget about her when things are good.
If I was her, just, I would throw. Jerry Seinfeld always talks about this one thing where, as he was ending Seinfeld, NBC was ready to drive a truck full of money onto his lawn and just dump it there. If I was Kathleen, I'd drive 2 trucks and beg Tony, please do another one. Do something else. Do something. Our Kevin Feige. Do something, because. And you know what? I don't blame Tony Gilroy, and I don't blame Diego Luna, who plays Cassian Andor. I don't blame them for wanting to move on. These guys are not. These guys didn't get into the industry to do Star Wars. They got into the industry to do movies and shows and all this other stuff.
Yeah, So Tony Gilroy, he's got this new idea for this show called Confederate, and he's.
Whatever happened to Confederate? Did that just?
It just didn't make it.
Just God. Okay, whatever.
So they were thinking about it, and then that's the thing about things being like greenlit and things being canceled, is that you never know. Something's greenlit, it doesn't mean it's greenlit. It doesn't mean it's, when something's canceled, it doesn't mean it's canceled. It's just there's always a chance that it's not going to happen, or there's always a chance that it is. So man, it's just.
To wrap up this
it makes me want to go back and see all of the other things that Tony Gilroy did. I'm like, I can't believe he did Cutting Edge. I mean I knew he did Born Identity, obviously, but I didn't realize. Oh God, there's some bad stuff though. He did Armageddon. He did. I've seen Cutting Edge, just the hockey figure skating movie. But
he was the writer on that. Okay. Oh, he did Devil's Advocate. Oh, wow. I actually quite like that movie. That's one with Pacino and Keanu Reeves. I quite liked it.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess he was on he did House of Cards. But I mean, again, he's like learning from each of these experiences and getting better and getting better. Mm-hmm. But man, he
wrote Great Wall. Oh, well, to be fair, he probably did that for a paycheck.
Right. Do we want him as like, is he maybe just a really great director and showrunner? That's
fair.
But he only wrote Rogue One. He didn't even direct Rogue One.
To wrap this conversation up, because I want to call back to something George R. R. Martin himself said about how showrunners in his adaptation Tango blog post, sometimes showrunners come in and try to make it their own, and in the process make it worse. I think Tony Gilroy came in here, made it his own, and at the end of the day,
do you think? I mean, you know who else is an executive producer? Diego Luna.
Oh, so so the actor had.
I mean, you have the problem with being an executive producer is it tells you nothing about how much influence they have. Sometimes executive producers have very heavy influence, and sometimes they're just there to get money. So they put money in and they get money out. So it's we have no idea how much influence Diego Luna had. I mean, obviously his incredible acting, but we have no idea.
True, but to wrap it up, based off what George said, I think because I'm reminded of how much I dislike Witcher on Netflix, and what George talks about is exactly what they did on Witcher. Is they try to make it their own, and it just sucks. However, I would argue that Tony is also making this his own, and it's good. So I guess at the end of the day, the gold standard rule remains: it's good when it's good, and it's bad when it's bad.
Bad when it's bad, and all these other rules. Maybe there are no rules. Maybe there are no rules, and it's just if it's good, it's good, and you can do whatever the fuck you want as long as it's
it's good.
And we're gonna forgive you. As long as it's fucking, as long as
you get
good.
results,
and this is fucking good. I mean, it's on track to again be. I mean, I said Andor is the best show that year, and this is on its way to be the best show.
By the way, what you said earlier in this podcast, you said that this is starting to be a very good year for shows. 2022 was a phenomenal year for shows. It's also when Andor first premiered, so you might be right. Preston, we've gone on for almost 2 hours. Do you mind if we wrap it up here?
Let's wrap it up.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we will see you all next time. Have a good one.